What's up, everyone? So I was moved to come on here and share, okay? And I'm going to be finishing up the readings. Let me see which ones I have left. I have Pisces, Capricorn, Sagittarius, and Libra left to do. So I will finish those today. But this is just kind of I'm hearing love and tolerance, right? This is about loving people. And I heard somebody say today how, it was easy to love somebody, or at least say you love someone, but you don't always like tolerate someone. You don't always like have tolerance for them. And like it made me start laughing, because I totally understand that, and I feel like part of living in life is figuring out that, how to love people and also be tolerant of their behaviors or their words, their actions, how they show up in life, learning to mind my own business. And, I can mind my own business and set boundaries and clear and, you know, things in my life have always been very cut and dry, like I've just like, that's how I was before. I was never really interested in listening to other people's opinions about how I should live my life or do things. And but it took me, losing everything and getting sober and then, 3 months into, I wasn't trying to get sober at first, I was just trying to get what I could, do what I could do until my mom would let me come back to the house, but, I got pregnant instead. And, because God had different plans for me. And it wasn't until I was like really desperate, like that really brought me to my knees. And I didn't have a dime to my name. I mean, I was living in a halfway house. I knew I was going to be a single mom, and I was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and I had a spiritual experience in that moment, after finding out my son was born, or that I was pregnant with my son. And I remember like just being on my knees and crying into this pillow, and I was cussing out God, for allowing this to happen, that I would get pregnant, and because of the circumstances that, why I couldn't have an abortion. And, it was just the worst fucking time, for me to be pregnant and go through it. It was just like, the odds were like slim to none that I was going to be able to make it. I couldn't take care of myself. Like, how was I going to be a mom, And, in that instant, God showed me like a fast forward vision of my life. And when it was all done, I wasn't crying anymore. I was just mortified of how ungrateful and undeserving I actually was, and what a coward I was. And when I got up from, the floor, I stood up, I made a decision, like, because also what I was shown was that I was going to have my son, and I was going to be a good mom. And I didn't know how that was going to happen, but God put it in my heart, and I was determined to do this. And I knew that I was going to stay sober, even though I didn't know how the hell that was going to happen either, So I remember like getting up from the ground and looking in the mirror and being like, okay, Lisa, you think you're so tough? Let's see how tough you are and face yourself. Like, for once in your life, just stop running and face yourself. And this meant so many different things, you know. And probably the biggest thing that saved my life was my willingness to hear another perspective. And it took me a while to meet the person that I ended up trusting, you know, my life with, really. And until I met her, I was very closed off to others and how I was speaking, you know, because I just ended up staying to myself a lot. And because there were a lot of people around me just taking part in things that I had just been revealed that was like just as bad, like gossip for one. And a lot of these people were, you know, going in and out of recovery, and I just didn't want any part of it. I didn't socialize. I wasn't somebody who got like all in and did all this stuff with like all the people newly sober. I was very much to myself. And I was crazy, you know, I was really freaking anxious ridden, and I used to pick my face. I used to pick my arms. I couldn't sit still. My legs and knees, like they were constantly bouncing, you know, like just, I was constantly bouncing. I always had like candy with me. And if I was in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever, I was always like in the front row, because the only thing I could focus on was whatever was happening up there, because if there was too much distraction, like I was not going to be there, right? So my willingness to listen to somebody else came when like I didn't even meet her until I was about 9 months into it. I was about 6 months pregnant, and I had decided that I wasn't going to go to any kind of program anymore, because I felt like nobody was really trying to be a better person. They were sober, but nobody was really trying to be a better person. And I wanted to be a better person. And this woman told her story at this group that I went to, and I cried from the time she started speaking, because the first thing out of her mouth was, I came into these rooms and I was shake, rattling, and rolling. And my hair felt like it was shooting out by the roots. I was electric. And I just burst into tears. Like, that's exactly how I felt. And I held on to every word she said, and I wanted everything that she had, including her Brooklyn accent. She changed my life. She was the first woman that I let hug me. First person, yeah. Well, I mean, I got pregnant, obviously. I let somebody touch me, but when I went to these groups where they like to hug and stuff, I wouldn't let anybody touch me, you know. So she was the first person I let touch me. And she said, I asked her to be my sponsor, and her first words to me were, are you ready to forget everything you've ever been taught so that we can retrain that brain of yours? And I had no idea what she was talking about. But I agreed, because I wanted her, you know. I wanted her in my life. And she told me, she said, you know, the only reason, you know, she said, you know, this is serious business. She says, you're dealing with a disease that tells you don't have a disease. And when she said that, like, shit, like something like clicked, like Tetris in my brain. And I was like, oh, is that why I always tell myself I'm okay? And I got this. And like, that really caught my attention, you know? And so from there, she told me to call her every day. And I was just like, all right, you know. And so I started calling her every day, but she didn't answer the phone. Like, she never answered the phone. And I would leave a message and tell her I called, and then the next day I'd see her, you know, out, and I'd be like, hey, you know, I'd wait for like an hour and a half after the meeting for her to be done, like talking to everybody, and because people lined up to talk to this lady, and I'd like run over to her, and I'd just walk her out to her car, and I'd be like, I called you yesterday, and she's like, great, babe, call me tomorrow. Nice to see you. And she'd always have like this great smile, and she was always so happy to see me. So I was like, okay, well, she didn't answer the phone, but whatever. She said call her again, so I'm going to call her again. And I did that for 3 weeks. It took 3 weeks before she answered the phone, and I later found out that she was testing my willingness, you know, because as it was explained to me, is, you know, dealing with people with addictions or the disease of alcoholism, you know, there's a lot of like in and outs. Like, you got to be ready. You got to be ready. You got to have the willingness to do whatever it takes, you know, even if the willingness is like the size of a mustard seed. It still counts. And she was testing mine because, you know, you don't want to waste your time. You got to have boundaries, you know, especially with people with addiction, because they can really suck you dry, right, if you let them. And I didn't know this, but I was definitely that kind of person, you know. So that began my journey of sobriety. And trust me, I'm the last person who expected to stay sober. You know, I am celebrating 23 years of sobriety. It was July 10th. I celebrated 23 years, and it really blows my mind. And still to this day, because when I came in, I didn't even pick up a white chip, because I was just like, there's no freaking way I'm picking up a white chip every damn day so these people could laugh at me, you know? I mean, I didn't think I could do it. And, you know, here I am still sober, and not just sober, but I'm peaceful. You know, I no longer have like scabs, open wounds on my face, all over my face. I picked my whole fucking face and my arms, you know, my arms are good. I'm showing you proof. You know, sometimes I still have these anxious moments, but it's nothing like what I used to. I used to not even be able to sleep. I'd stay up all night and watch this little ticker clock, you know, and the thing would flip over. And every time it flipped over, I'd mark a little thing, you know, like make a little stick. You know how you do the 4 sticks and then a slice to make 5? Some nights I just stay up and watch the clock and do that, you know, because every minute that I stayed sober fucking counted, you know. I've definitely earned my recovery, and I worked really hard for it, because I didn't understand. I didn't understand. It was some things like people were speaking a different language, you know, but I would just listen and listen, and I heard all these different things like, Lisa, just sit back and watch people, because they'll make all the mistakes for you. And I began to understand like what that meant, because I was watching people, and I'd see people, you know, stay sober and staying sober and get a job, and then they get a nice car, and then they get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and then they get a place, you know, and then the place together, and then the next thing, like they were both freaking off and running again. And I saw this happen, I don't even know how many times, thousands of times. And sometimes the same people doing it over and over again, you know. And I stayed away from relationships for my first 3 years. You know, that's how long I lasted. Guys used to come up to me, and I'd be like, I'm on a 5-year plan. And I just like put my hand up like this. I'm like, 5-year plan. I wouldn't even look at them. Okay. And I was on a mission. Like, I wanted to be a positive role model for my son, and I wanted to bring in stability, and I knew that I needed to make this this foundation for my recovery, you know, so that I had something to stand on, right? So that was my focus, and I was in school, and I was like doing these meetings, and I was like, you know, helping other girls, and I was meeting with my own person, and I was working. I mean, I was fucking hustling, okay? And I literally was starting from the bottom, okay? I was not at that time able, well, I eventually became a breakfast waitress, but in the beginning I couldn't do, you know, be in that atmosphere at night, you know, working in a restaurant and stuff, and just being around a bar or whatever. So the smell just used to make me like vomitous, you know, like it was really tough. It was very uncomfortable, and my nose would start running. So anyway, we started off talking about love and tolerance, but like here I am going into my story, and it must be needed to be heard. So I'm just gonna keep going, because it's all together. It's all how it's like what's bringing me to this place. You know, I was very much a prisoner of my past for a long time in recovery. I was staying sober. I was a great mom, and I was doing the deal, and I was very positive. I've always been very hopeful, but I didn't trust people, and my friend group was very limited, and which I think is a very good thing. Okay, that part is good. What wasn't so good was that I was judging other people for being the people that gossiped and thought they were better than because they had all this stuff, you know, and because I knew that none of that shit fucking mattered, right? And who are we to gossip about anybody? But it took me a while to connect the two and to realize that, you know, me judging them is just as bad as them judging others and talking about them, even if I'm only doing it in my head, right? So that took years to kind of unravel, you know. But if you do the work and you continue to look at yourself, which I do still to this day, you will just continue to evolve and grow and heal and forgive yourself. And then it's like, as I've learned to continue to heal myself, it's turned out, you know, it's made it more easy, or it makes forgiveness more accessible of others, right? So that's how it's worked for me anyway. And there are places that have been, I thought, completely healed, where I didn't need to go back to it, that have, as I've continued to dive deeper into myself, like into, because it's just always, I'm always just searching, and I'm never going to be perfect. Like I just realized this, like I'm never going to be perfect. But things will resurface, and then you go down a little bit deeper with that area, you know. Before, like, for example, like, let's say there's one person that you're upset with, and when they could just trigger the hell out of you and just throw you into an you know, your anger, just flip you out, you know, and you would start fighting, or, you know, whatever you would do, and become violent, okay, saying abusive things, and then, okay, so then, like, after that, you have like the whatever, the hangover, the emotional hangover of that, and you're like, oh man, you know, like, you're trying to be sober, and it's like acting like that, like that's like, it just doesn't go well, right? It's at least it didn't go well with me, you know. So then I'm like, oh man, I can't fucking do this, like I gotta please God, and I'm praying about it, because that's always also what I have incorporated into my life is a daily connection with my higher power, who I choose to call God. And little by slowly, that person that would make me feel like I could break shit over their face wouldn't it like it was like, okay, I don't feel like breaking something over their face or breaking their nose. Like, maybe I just want to smack the shit out of them. Okay. And then it became like, okay, I don't have to put hands on this person at all. Okay. Or maybe it's just like a quick, like, let me just break your nose, and then it was just like words. Okay. And so then I finally got to walk away, but I'd be fucking pissed off and taking it out on like throwing shit, not taking it out on other people, but definitely throwing shit, and just, it took me a while to unwind, right? And then, okay, so then, like, I'm praying and I'm still trying to work on this, and I'm seeing it's me. I gotta stop. I gotta pause. Because I'm not hearing God. I'm not hearing God until, like, after I start cussing. Oh, fuck. And then I got pause, Lisa, pause, and then I can walk away. And then, like, you're in the midst, it's like something, you get triggered, and you're like, like, you feel it, your whole body just has an automatic response to it, but you're not moving, you're not breaking anything, you're not hurting anybody, and no terrible words are coming out, but it's evident, it's all over your body, right? But you have the ability to turn around and walk out the door away from the situation, right? I mean, I remember one time in particular, I just took off running, and I just ran until I could not freaking breathe, right? And then I freaking dropped to my knees, and I was like, fine, screaming at God. And then, after that whole episode happened, it's like, the next thing is like, I just know I started preparing myself for when I had to either be around that person or have a discussion with this person. Like, I would prep myself for weeks in advance. It took, like, maybe sometimes a month, right? So, and by prep, I mean I would, like, up my daily dose of calm, wherever I found serenity. For me, it was like with my other friends that were also not drinking, and then doubling up on meetings that I would go to and things like that. So, and then, like, gradually, it's just like moved down to this place where I understand, like, dang, I don't even have to answer the phone if that person calls, and it's like, there's no guilt there. There's no shame there. It's just like, okay, and I can call that person back when I'm, like, ready to talk to them, because now it doesn't take as much time to be prepared, so, because I understand, because when I'm going through these bouts and I'm looking for my lesson in it, not how to change them. And sometimes, like, when I'm so angry, I'll just start saying, bless them, change me, bless them, change me, bless them, change me. And I'll say it and say it and say it. And you guys, I have literally said that prayer crying, falling asleep, praying for somebody, because it was the only thing I could say, and these things have worked for me, and it's calmed me down to where I'm not as I'm not just giving my power away to people like that anymore, and it's been a beautiful gift of my relationship with God, the relationship I have with myself, my sobriety. It's just, nothing's worth it. Peace of mind is everything, and it's taken me years to forget everything that I had been taught, to retrain my brain, but I keep doing it. It takes practice. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm going to make 1,000,000,001 mistakes probably before I pass away, you know. And but you know, as I learn, you know, I moved to share on here so that the world can know, you know, and because we all deserve peace of mind, and there is a way out. And I feel like, oh, there's a way out of whatever is happening up here, you know, whatever is like interfering with you just enjoying your life. There's a way to like just like realize, like, you know what, that is not my fucking circus, dude. I can like let people whirl all on their own, you know. I like, oh yeah, I remember when I used to have to do shit like that too, you know. So there's no judgment. I get it. I've been there. I freaking did it, you know. I fucking have the t-shirt, you know. But I also know that I don't have to participate in it, you know. I'm here if anybody ever needs help, you know, but I don't allow myself to be like dragged up under, you know, like how they just like when you're swimming or you're a lifeguard, it's like if you can't save somebody who's like panicking. They tell you, calm your ass down so I can save your ass, because if I try and grab you now, we're both going under and you ain't killing me today, so fucking calm your ass down. All right. So that's basically what it is. It's like, okay, you know, like we can all be like lifeguards for each other, but other people, like, it's like boundaries. That's how the boundaries are. It's like, okay, I'm a lifeguard over here, but you know, you got to fucking calm your ass down so we can both make it back to shore, you know, because you freaking out like that, man, you're taking me down with you and I ain't dying today. Okay. That's it. And that's love and tolerance for me today. So I hope you enjoyed that little message. It was fun walking down memory lane. And I love you guys. I'm here for you. You know, reach out. Let me know. You got my email, you know. And yeah, I'm going to do the other readings now. So, because this feels done. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day. And I'll see you soon. Bye.